and we're empowering the perpetrator. So I think a lot of us are guilty of indirectly empowering perpetrators and making people feel like they can get away with it simply because no one is going to believe this victim. You know, it's her word against mine, and who am I? I'm the father, I'm the uncle, I'm the this. Sometimes even, you know, people who are perhaps assisting a family financially, or they happen to be charitable towards a certain family, happen to abuse the widows. Sometimes they abuse the little girls that are there. Sometimes they even abuse the same sex. So when we speak about rape, it's not only between different sexes. At times it is the same sex that people are abusing. And can that person speak? I have had many people who confide in me and tell me, you know, that man is very charitable, but he does it for sexual favors. If that is the case, I mean, that was not charity. That is something you are using your money, your authority, your power to abuse someone sexually. You deserve to be shamed and to be dealt with. So it is happening. And this is why we say, when Allah has blessed you with wealth, never ever use that wealth in order to think that you can get away with murder, or you can do something and get away with it, because Allah is watching. You're going to pay. And another thing is, society is going to struggle as a result of you having created a trend of people whom, whenever you want to help someone, you ask them for a sexual favor in return. This happens in colleges, at schools. It happens in so many, in universities. There are so many people who are quietly, because they want the grades, they happen to give in, because on one hand, there is the pressure of your family, your father, and everyone else. And on the other hand, you know, there is a lecturer or anyone, a teacher threatening you to say, you know what, I can give you grades if what? You need to know, and I always tell my kids, if you haven't passed, it's okay. For as long as you tried your best, you enjoyed your time at school, we are here with you. And I am a father of 8 daughters, and I am really concerned. I always tell them from a young age, and you know, it's irrelevant who exactly should address this matter, but someone needs to. As husband and wife, or as father and mother, you need to arrive at a conclusion between yourselves that, look, you address this and I will address that. When you tell, I've told some of my little kids, no one's allowed to touch you. If anyone does touch you in your private parts or in a way that you're not comfortable, immediately tell dad, tell mom, we are here to protect you. We are here to serve you. We believe you. We are here to stand up for you. We will fight right to the end for you, my child. And this is when the child feels empowered. When rape has increased in society, it has many reasons. One of them is that the vulnerable have increased, and we are not protecting them. We are not coming out to defend them. We make them feel that there is no safe place for you to actually communicate what's happening to you. And so because there's no support structure, we find that it actually increases. And secondly, there is no point in blaming a person who might not be dressed appropriately to say, you know what, you caused it. I want to explain why. There is definitely in religious teaching that we should be dressed in a morally upright way. That's in Christianity, Judaism, Islam, and for both male and female. But if someone is raped, how come? There are people who are covered head to toe in so many countries who are raped day and night. So where does that fit? Number one. Number two is, Allah tells the men first, like Sheikh, the Honorable Minister said earlier, and it was a verse that was absolutely in its place. Allah tells the men first, lower your gaze. That verse comes before he even addresses the women. So if she has, for example, dressed in a way that you feel might not be Islamic or might not be moral, that does not ever justify a sin against her or a crime against her, because you're supposed to have lowered your gaze in the first place. If you were a person who followed that instruction, you would have lowered your gaze. You wouldn't even have noticed. When I was speaking to a group of youngsters and they were telling me, you know, I told them, when you see a female, what's the first thing that crosses your mind? What do you see? And the idea is to find out how in society we look at the opposite sex. So I was speaking to a group of youngsters. I want them to tell me, you know, or I want to teach them and train them that I see a mother, I see someone's sister, I see, you know, someone's daughter, And I feel so blessed that we have such good people. And I look at someone, their ability, their capacity, their intellect, how much they are contributing to society, to their families. You know what? These young boys, 80% of them said, the first thing we look at is the breast and the behind, its size and what it looks like. And I'm going to say this loud and clear, because as much as we have a problem, but this problem needs to be addressed from all angles. These young boys need to be addressed and told, listen, and this is what I've done in my own little circles, but we need to address it more. No matter how much we address it, it's not going to be enough. It's an ongoing thing. I tell these young boys, look, you cannot say that. You're supposed to be lowering your gaze anyway. So Allah tells you for your sanity, for everything, lower your gaze. Then they come up and they say, well, you know what? There's porn on everybody's phone and pornography is everywhere. And we don't have a place to actually vent those urges that we have. So that is a crisis, but it does not justify you going out and abusing or harming or committing a crime against someone else. So while we are telling on one hand people to say, be careful, your sister, your daughter, your mother, those in your family, make sure that you have actually offered them beautiful communication and they're reassured about the protection that's around them so that they can come up, because people search for the most vulnerable of victims and they jump and pounce onto their prey when they know that there's no solid, powerful person who's going to protect this child. So they pounce on that. That having been said, while we're telling the people to keep that issue of protection and communication on the highest possible level, we need to also deal with perverted young men and women and even some of the older people. And I must admit that we are in